We'll do it live. Freaking, we'll do it live. We're doing it live. Hi. And I'm gonna press buttons. I should have maybe done this beforehand. But I'm gonna go share this on Facebook's because that's the only social medias I have. There we go. Basically just doing that to see if my dad will show up. Yeah, see if he'll show up, come back from the store, come back from getting that gallon of milk and them ciggies. We'll see. I before I start, mainly because I'm too afraid to start, I got a whole bunch of books that I'm reading. I got Greek myths. It's a lot more in depth than I thought I would ever need, and it's great, and I love it. It's by Robert Graves, so that's how you know it's good. Um, and it's look at this chunk of a book. Oh, I love it. I started reading it a little bit before my counseling session started today. And I also have a series of short stories by Ursula K. Le Guin. I'm really excited to read because I like her stuff. I also had a poetry book, or there was a potential for me to buy a poetry book by her with like the last of her poems that she ever wrote. And I was super excited, and then it's like they wanted like $30 for it, and I'm like, I am not gonna do that right now. Because we're also maybe buying a house. Just on another random life note, is we're gonna hopefully be getting a house soon, and I'm really excited. So I won't have to live in this rinky dink apartment where the windows are falling off the freaking wall. Yeah. Um, I like that I'm deciding to do this reading when my throat is so unbelievably sore, but we're gonna do it. We're doing it live with nobody watching, which is even better. So, it limits the pressure on me to really like live up to anyone's expectations. We're just cruising at Zippo. I'm excited. So, this book has been in progress for a super long time. See, I'm procrastinating from doing it. I'm also, in doing this live stream, procrastinating from finishing it because I got about 60 pages left. And then it is done. I wanted it done in time for my birthday, but I don't think that's going to happen. My birthday is a little bit away. It's this month. It's already February. Who'd have thunk we'd already be in February? It's craziness. Crazy. How does time work? Is this real life? What is life? What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Oh my gosh, should I? Ooh, should I post this in the group chat? That I'm doing a live stream of reading my fantasy novel? Oh gosh. No, we're not gonna do that. I'm too scared for that because then maybe somebody will pop in and say hi. And that's the thing I fear the most, having an audience while I read this. I don't have a title for it right now. So we're going very vague. It's just called fantasy book. Um, if anyone actually watches this and has suggestions on book titles, let me know. This is a story about a boy named S. He's found in the middle of the lake that his village is by. He's found in the middle of the lake as a baby, like just floating around. um and he's found by these two fishermen who are like, holy shit. What do we do? They rescue him and they bring him to the village cleric, Oman, who is a follower of the sea god, totally not Poseidon. In this, he's called Telton, and he is the god of the seas and storms. And so Oman prays for healing and does some stuff to basically keep us alive. And they, from that moment on, they form a bond, and Oman kind of takes him in as his own son and cares for him like his own son. And it's like, and then S decides to leave like a dick. Uh, but yeah, S is very confused about who he is, especially as he grows older, and is like, my skin is turning blue. Why is my skin blue? And I can talk to fish. What is going on? Um, and yeah, he goes to his father and is like, what's going on with me? Why am I like this? And Oman is like, well, because you're not my son. You are probably related to the elementals because you have these elemental abilities. You can talk to fish, you can manipulate water. Your skin is blue. Cannot iterate that enough. This boy is blue. Like, here, I'll show you the color I envisioned, because it's the color of my hoodie. Not this one, but this one. It's this color blue. It's this. That's his skin. It's that, like, a bright, vibrant blue. And Oman explains to S, like, the elementals were the first beings to ever live. They are these sort of ancient entities that embody the elements. And I think you are somehow related to that. So go to them. They are coincidentally, conveniently, on the other side of the world. So suddenly S is like, I need to find out who I am. So I'm going to go to the other side of the world. I'm going to go to the other side of the freaking world and figure out who I am and who I'm supposed to be. Because I don't belong here. The people here don't like me, don't trust me. So there is nothing for me here. So I gotta go. I gotta figure out life. And so he leaves and is thrust on a whirlwind adventure to the other side of the world. And he meets a whole bunch of people. He meets uh, some sketchy characters who are totally not pirates. He meets I don't want to give a lot away, but also, like, it's just, I think it's a nice story. I think it's a nice story of someone coming of age and figuring out who they are, um, and not doing it alone. Because I don't know. I like the idea that the best The best journeys are the ones we do with friends. So anyway, I think I think I'll just read chapter 1. There's a bit of a prologue. I'll read the prologue too. It's short. But first we yawn. I'm a sleepy sheepy. And I gotta make this quick, because we do go view another house in about 30 minutes. Or, well, about an hour. I have 30 minutes. There we go. Okay. I'm scared. Are you scared? Because I'm scared. Please, oh internet, do not judge me harshly. For I know not what I am doing. I, like S, I just have no idea what I'm doing. Anyway. Fantasy book by Tess Herman. This is a prologue. A storm rages. Waves crash against a small fishing boat. The two seafarers aboard grasp tightly to the rope of the sail, hoping it will be enough to keep them on their feet. Together, the men call out to Telton, the great sea god. They scream a prayer against the wild winds that scrape against their eyes and the frigid rain that claws at their faces. Dawn should have broken out an hour ago, but dark clouds mask its light. And in this false darkness, there's a cry. It breaks off from the sound of the storm, piercing ears like lightning bolts. It's unusual. Its misplacement in this moment causes the men to stop calling out. The wails are childlike in tone and timbre. The men search as best they can for the source of the cry. They scan the water and spot a lump among the waves. At first, it could have been mistaken for a fish, but as the sailors got closer, they found it was a baby, blue with cold, nearly drowned. One of the men wraps the baby in his jacket in an effort to warm him. Neither man is a healer, but ashore there may be hope. They forged through the rain. The child's loud wails have faded into short sobs. With land only a few feet away, the sailors abandon their boat and rush to the temple of their healer, Oman, servant of Telton and his people. The young leader of the temple was cleaning the apse of the church when the soaking wet sailors entered. The men made eye contact. Then the sailors held out the baby, who was now no longer breathing. Oman dropped everything and ran to the child. Oman held the child to the ceiling and whispered a prayer in a foreign tongue. He took some holy water and sprinkled it on the child's head. The water inside the child was drawn out. The baby began to cry once more. Oman would hold him close in that moment and for the rest of time. Chapter 1. The first story my father ever told me was the tale of how he found me. He explained to me that I was not his biological son, but that the gods had brought me to him. He told me he named me S after the river he lived by in his youth. He told me the promise he made to the sea god Telton, how he swore to teach me to live my life in gratitude for the life they had given me. I think he assumed that it would throw me for a loop or make me upset at him for having kept something from me, but in reality, I felt a little peace. Things started to make a little more sense. I wasn't a human like the rest of my village. I suppose it must have been obvious. I saw the way they acted around me. Whatever do you mean, my son? I mean, I don't get treated the same. I don't look like anybody else here. You walk and talk the same as them. You are the same. Father, look at me. I gestured to my whole body. My skin never lost its blue color, and my hair had the same consistency as seaweed. My body always smelled like our lake, no matter how much I bathed, and I always seemed to hear the sound of rushing water, even if I tried escaping to the forest. Oman sighed and put his arms around me and held me as tight as ever. I held him to me with the same tightness. You are the same. They just don't see it. But as I got older, the less true its words became. I'd go to school like the rest of the kids in my village. They would treat me like an alien or an imposter. I was like them. I sat like them. I spoke like them, walked, played, but I was not one of them, and they were sure to remind me of that. Not only my classmates, but adults too. One day when I was 12, my father asked me to run to the market and get him a loaf of bread. So I went to the bakery. The moment the bell dangling from the door rang, all eyes fell on me and would stay there until I left. They watched me, almost double checking I was real. My conversation with the baker was brief. What do you want, kid? Just a loaf of bread for my father. Well, if it's for your father, I'll get you the freshest one. And what if I wanted one? There's still some day old bread in the back near the garbage. I never told Oman about my interactions with the other villagers. I worried it hurt him to hear that I was treated any differently. Truthfully, I think it'd break his heart. He was always so jovial in our early years together, but like I said, everything was subject to change as time went on. I also did my best to stay jovial, but maybe the god of darkness was toying with me because the joy never lasted long, even when I'd try and force it. As I got older, I began to dream, and in that dream I would see my death. Every time it'd start the same. I'd think I was in paradise. A beautiful beach with sand that wasn't too hot, water that wasn't too blue, and a sunset sky that seemed to go on forever. Seabirds flew above me, calling to their friends. And the creatures of the sea would call out to me. "S, we've been waiting for you! Come on, swim with us!" And I'd join them, jumping in the water. Like the sand, it engulfed me in this calming warmth. It was like a hug that you could only receive from someone you loved with an immovable love. And I would feel love. I would feel at home, which was hard to feel at the time. The fish around me would laugh and glide through the waves. In a way, it was like flying through the open sky. It almost felt as if I was controlling the water, making it push me along. It made me feel powerful, made me feel safe. I could breathe in the water just fine, but it's when the water began to freeze around me that things would get scary. The water would always get cold, like negative digits, frostbite that could kill cold. My happiness fell away and made room for a pain in the pit of my stomach. It always began in my legs. A layer of ice would freeze my legs together so fast and so well that I couldn't move. I tried to smash the ice with my fists, but I'm never strong enough, and then I hear it. He's coming. The god of seas and storms, Telton, approaches me in full battle gear. His armor makes him look like a behemoth. He was horrifying. He was so unlike my father's vision of him as this loving god welcomed by all. This loving god who welcomed all. The only reason I could ever tell that it was him was because he wielded a trident made of bronze, something all legends and stories agreed was his trademark. It shimmered in the light of the ocean. He yells at me in some indiscernible tongue that sounded something like this. Miad no gul fiamishra, tiandrek fiamishra, ilu, ilu. And then he'd take a warrior stance. By then, I'd be completely frozen in ice. Then he'd lunge at me, and I'd feel this sharp pain enter my chest as I closed my eyes and accepted my fate. The next time I open them, I'm awake. Alone in my room, but still feeling as unsafe as ever. I'd get the dream maybe once a year at first. Just something to remind me of my eventual death, I suppose. But as I neared 16, the dreams became more frequent. I would It would get to the point where certain aspects of the dream would occur in reality too. I could hear the water and the fish I could hear the water and hear fish calling out to me. If I got close enough to the water, it almost looked as though I was controlling it, making it distort and move away from me, unlike any wave was capable of moving. I would start to hear the sound of rushing water even when I was far inland. When I'd pass fishermen bringing in their live catch, I swore I could hear the fish screaming for help. It certainly made the weekly fish fry my father does a tad uncomfortable. The start of my journey truly began a few days after I turned 16. The sound of crashing waves and outer monologuing fish never went away. I had so many questions. I decided I would ask Oman for answers on one important day. Our village, Humboldt, has a ceremony that we call tethering. It's a coming-of-age celebration that all youth go through as they reach adulthood. Classwork comes to an end and adult work begins. That was supposed to be the day that S, the boy of the sea, becomes someone greater than the odd stories families would talk about at the dinner table. I was set to become a man, just like my classmates. On the day of tethering, there is great music and cheers as each of us, one by one, takes to a small stage that's set up the day before. Once on stage, each person does something to prove that they are ready to join adulthood. Usually, it's some sort of display related to the field they'll be joining. Living in a fishing village usually means there's something involving crafting a fishing rod or an oar and then showing it off for all to see. My father Oman said he built a small boat to present at his tethering, although that didn't end up serving him much, considering he's a cleric now. My father Oman is a great man. He's our village leader and in charge of our chapel. Most everyone imagines him, or they imagine him. Ah! Most everyone admires him. Taking in an abandoned child only added to the people's love for him. Did you hear Oman is still raising that boy they found in Lake Penitence? Well, of course. Oman would never let that poor thing starve. But it is a thing, though, isn't it? The morning of tethering always begins with a big feast. The fishermen end their morning early and help prepare their food and their homes for the slew of guests. Each home either prepares one dish to share with everyone, or several homes will band together to create several smaller dishes. You'd think I'd know how to read. The poorer, smaller homes usually gather their food together, while the larger and slightly richer ones make one meal each. On the day of tethering, Oman and I share our finest vegetables that we've grown in our small communal garden. I did most of the care to the garden that year, and somehow it paid off. At the time, I figured I'd gotten lucky, but it would turn out to be more than luck on my side. Oman came to my section of our little home set beside Telton's temple to wake me up, though he didn't really have to. The nightmares kept me plenty awake that night. My boy, you look exhausted. Rough sleep again? It's fine. I'm fine, I lied. No matter how badly I wanted to tell him, I was afraid to let him in on my nightmares, especially on the day that's supposed to be filled with joy and celebration. But looking in his eyes, he seemed off. Like there was something he wanted to tell me too. I really am okay, Father, I said. I tried to leave to collect the vegetables from our garden and prepare for the feast, but he stopped me. He wasn't usually like this. I scanned his face for answers and found pain in his growing wrinkles. It's an important day, he said. You become a man. You will join me at my side and help the good of the people and help the good people of this village. It was fairly anticipated among those in the village that I would stay by Oman's side and stay at the temple. Most children in this village followed their fathers and mothers. Almost nobody ever leaves this place. However, Oman and I both knew that this village didn't need two clerics. And on top of that, I knew the people here didn't want my help. They would refer to me as Water Boy up until the day I died. S, he said, his voice struggling against the weight of the words. There's something we need to talk about. I wasn't ready to talk to him at that point. I wasn't ready to tell him there was something weighing on me too. So I stalled. Can it wait? I need to tend to the garden one last time. I want to see if anything else grew in overnight so that we can add for the feast. Oman's eyes had begun to get watery. The daylight made his bright blue eyes shine like gemstones. I guess that's something we shared even if we weren't related by blood. He sighed and stepped aside, saying, Very well. I will see you shortly then. The garden had come to be a place I could go to feel okay, but not that time. The weight of something kept me feeling down. In all my life, Oman had never looked at me the way he had that morning, like I was a disappointment. I tried to think of what I had said or did to upset him. As I did so, Stephen trotted over. Stephen was my father's horse. He and Oman apparently used to go on a lot of adventures when Oman was younger. though it was hard to imagine my father looking anything other than this thin, gray haired man he was when I knew him. He used to tell me stories about his travels. He'd gone all over the globe and on adventure after adventure. He told me he used to travel with some bards, something he considered a mistake, but he still kept the flute he played, though I never saw him touch the thing. Hey there, Stephen. I forgot about the garden for a moment to pet him on the muzzle. He liked to get pats on the tip of his nose. Who knows why? I ran my hands through his mane to brush him. At least someone looked like they were having a good day. You know you're my only friend, right, old boy? Right back at you, pal. I returned to the garden to gather up a few pea pods and beans that had come in overnight. The ones that weren't quite ready the day before looked perfect for the feast now. Only a couple pods remained on the vines. I had hoped to add some carrots to our table that day, but it looked like some large, rude horse beat me to it. I shot Stephen and Claire, but we both know I didn't mean anything by it. Now, if a horse could roll his eyes, he definitely does it. I know I certainly did. I took what I could gather back inside. Oman was nowhere to be seen. Instead, there was a large tray on the table. It stood as the only thing in this room, aside from the brick oven and a few pans set inside of it. The tray has other vegetables that we had prepared over the past week in preparation for the day's festivities. That should be anticipation. I add my late haul to the mix. There's a pleasant variety of colors and red peppers, green beans, yellow squash, peas, and a few carrots that I could snag before Stephen took his share. There was enough food on the tray to make it a bit cumbersome to lift as I heaved it onto my right shoulder. It's how I imagine a fisherman would feel carrying a full bag of fish from boat to cellar. I took the tray to the entrance of the chapel, expecting Oman to be somewhere around, but again, he's not here. He did set up a pew with small wooden cups and a pitcher of water. I add my tray of food to the collection and go outside. And that's where I find him. And I'm gonna stop because I have stuff I gotta do aside from being cool. But a lot more happens. I promise. The introduction, I wanted to kind of set the stage for what this world was like. So I swear it's not as boring as that. I swear it gets interesting and it gets cool and there's dragons and sea monsters. I swear it gets cool. um but yeah, I I feel like I should like waste time for 2 minutes so it's an even 30, but I also don't care. So just gonna leave. I'm hoping to do more of these, like at least once a month, and kind of give updates on how the book is going, because I really like the book for the most part, aside from like parts as I read that I'm like, oh, I need to change this, I need to adjust that. But I like telling good stories, and I want to tell good stories. So yeah, now I really feel like I should waste 1 minute. I can waste 1 minute talking, rambling. I did it for 10 minutes before we started the reading of this book. How are you today? Doing good? Drinking enough water? You better be, because I'm certainly not. My throat is sore, my lips parched. I gotta drink some water. That's what I'm gonna do when I sign off. I'm gonna drink me some water. And then go look at a house. And maybe buy that house. Probably not like immediately, because obviously we gotta discuss. But then we'll have 3 potential houses to look at, to call home. That'll be another mission, but for another day. Goodbye, friends. I don't know why I saluted like you are my captain, But I'll talk to you later.